because you have to make your marriage work for you.
Well, did it work for those people?
No, it never does. I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but
Yes.
What works between you and your husband or your wife for you,
Right.
and no one else.
God bless America and no place else.
Welcome
To the J&O Show.
We talk about
things that we would never told them, Jay.
Oh.
And now you know.
All right, guys. So today we are actually going to be answering a
Question
from one of you, from one of our viewers, from one of our day ones.
Yeah.
Shout out to Arnita. So this video was requested, and we wanted to make sure that we answered your questions because you believe in books, which we appreciate. In all sincerity, we do appreciate
Yeah,
it.
honestly, yeah.
We really do.
We really do.
It's very humbling, to be honest. We love the fact that you and so many other of you actually are taking the time to ask us our opinion, ask us our thoughts in this space about life,
Life was like a box of chocolates.
about relationship, because you are really trying to, do this thing called life and trying to better yourself so that way you can be in a healthy relationship. So we really appreciate you guys for doing that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We're gonna post the message up here so that way you can see it. Probably are gonna have to tackle this in more than one video.
Yeah.
Just because we know sometimes you guys don't like the long form content. That's okay. We'll give you a couple parts.
Yeah.
All right. But the first part that we wanted to tackle was dealing with the question about compromise. How much do you compromise yourself basically in a marriage?
Right.
And I think the first thing that we want to say is purpose. That's something that we talk about quite a bit on our channel. If you are working in purpose, if you are working on, hey, let me rewind. You may not even necessarily be working in purpose yet, but you are on the path because you are working on practicing your gifts, your talents and your gifts. You're working basically to better those and understanding that by you doing that, it's going to open doors for you to be able to do other things, for you to be able to walk in your purpose, because your gifts are here to assist you with your purpose in life. Okay, so if you are basically on that path, either working on your gifts so that you can walk in your purpose, or you're already walking in purpose, I think that's going to be the first thing to help you understand what are non-negotiables, things that you can and cannot compromise in your marriage. So I'll say that.
Concerning purpose, just piggybacking off of her, just so that everyone understands, for a lot of ladies, part of purpose is going to be family.
Yes.
For a lot of guys as well, it's just that we have different roles to play in family traditionally. And usually we tend to fall into those roles anyway. So that's the thing you have to understand about this whole thing about being a purpose. For a lot of ladies, part of their purpose is going to be to do the family, not so much to be out and, starting a business or running a this or that, or their purpose is going to be, I want to set up this family unit. I want to have kids. I want to have a legacy. I want to be a participant in that. And if I do work, it's going to be to assist that and facilitate that goal. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing.
I think it's everything right with that.
Yes.
Because we need to have strong families, to have strong communities, to have a community and a society where people can go and be able to provide for their families. A lot of people don't understand that having these families is a necessity, even for building the structure needed to provide for your family. Like, it's all interconnected. And I think that a lot of people need to understand. I wanted to put that out there. Whether it's building a family or going and doing something in the corporate world or building a business or something, whatever it is, knowing that first and foremost will put everything else in perspective as far as how much time you can give, how much of your energy you can give, and it'll help to guide you on how to deal in your relationship.
Also, another thing is your peace of mind.
Remember your pressure points.
Marriage is about sacrifice. Obviously, you know that already. But for those of you who may not, if you don't think that you are going to give up anything in your marriage, don't get married because you will upset and you will end up getting divorced anyway. Point blank, period. You have to give and take simply because you have two completely different individuals coming from two completely different backgrounds. There has to be compromise because you're not going to be identical. Even identical twins have issues. You know, like you're going to have to compromise on certain things just because you're different people, and that's okay. You just have to understand that when you do make those compromises, it's something that you can live with, something that's not going to rob you of your peace at night. Like if you can't sleep, or if it's something that's gnawing at you, or whatever the case may be, then that might be something that you want to revisit, or maybe you need to change the parameters of your compromisation, if that's a word. I might have just made that up. You understand what I'm saying? You might need to revisit that because you definitely don't want to be in a situation where you end up resenting your spouse because you've compromised too much, or the thing that you compromised on, it's something that you just not have had peace with.
Also, take that don't compromise your peace of mind thing. A lot of us have this habit of not wanting to compromise when it comes to our meat. Peace of mind, time, effort, you know, reciprocation. We have all of these standards for our mate, who's supposed to be the most important person in our life. We don't have that same standard for our jobs or our careers. Our careers can completely turn our stuff upside down. It can frustrate us. It can completely take our peace of mind. We'll give it everything and expect very little in return because a lot of us don't even ask for raises. So I just want to throw it out there that this is something that you might want to apply to your job too, especially if you're in a relationship, because if you go to job and you allow all of these sacrifices to be made to your job and then you come home, you're giving your mate hell, but you don't give them any of the same sacrifices that you're willing to give that paycheck. That be a problem. You might want to worry about taming that on all sides. Because I think that was a great thing for her to say, that you need to not give up your peace of mind. But I think a lot of us need to apply that to more than just other people, because we tend to want to do less for our husband and our wife than we will our children, our family, and our jobs. And I think that's a little weird and it's backwards. But just a little. But it's actually very common. So I had to throw that out there too.
Good point. You know. I was going to say another thing is having similar goals is going to be beneficial. So this, of course, hopefully should come before you decide to get married, but having conversations about your life, what it is that you anticipate your life to look like, how many kids you want to have, you know, do you plan on being a stay-at-home mom? Do you want to be able to work as well? Like, you know what I'm saying? Have those kind of conversations so that way when it comes to building your life, the sacrifices or the compromises that you make are in alignment with those goals. So you're not pissed about it because it's just like, okay, well, we agreed that this is what we want. So in order for us to get to here, then this is what we need to do to get to there. And so we may have to make a little compromises, you know, along the way to be able to do that. In alignment with that, and make sure that you have a good sense of communication with your partner when it comes to these things, because men and women do think differently. We say this a lot in our videos. We're going to continue to say it for all of the new people that's coming so y'all can get used to us saying it too. So men and women think differently. Men tend to be more long-term. Women tend to be more detail-oriented with what's happening right now. We have to understand that dynamic in our relationship. If he's a man that is focused on attaining these long-term goals, he may be making decisions now that affect how things are going to play out 3-4 years from now. It may not necessarily be all about what's happening in your life right now. So as both women and as men, we have to understand that we play different roles. And sometimes the decision that you're making now can be, I'm sorry, but that would be the battery, which we have to change now. So we'll be back, guys. Don't worry about it. We'll be back in a minute. You ain't even gonna act like you ain't even gonna feel us. I messed that whole thing up. You're not even gonna feel us being gone. But for us, it'll be at least 5 minutes. You have to get to understand somewhat how the guy thinks, and you as a guy have to take into consideration that the woman is seeing certain things that you can't.
Wow. I did not see that coming.
So the communication is going to be hyper important for that. But if every sacrifice that you make, if every compromise you make is towards that final goal of the things that you guys said you want, it should be something that you'd be willing to make anyway.
Yes.
Should be.
Yeah.
Should be.
Oh, okay. We're looking down because we wanted to make sure we covered certain things. Oh, okay. So last thing we said was be at peace with the fact that you will change and you will grow. And this growth or change may be so severe that you don't recognize yourself. And that's okay, because we should be evolving. We should be growing. We should be changing. If you're with someone for an extended amount of time, you are going to change because that person is depositing something different, something new into your life that you didn't experience before. And not just that, but you are getting older, hopefully wiser. So there are different things that you're going to be learning. So there's going to be change. And change is inevitable. So just understanding that that is a natural part of life and it's okay. Take comfort in you growing as an individual and knowing that your relationship, we say this all the time, your relationship is going to be completely different from anybody else's relationship because you and that individual are two different people. So your relationship is not going to look like the next person's relationship. I don't care if you guys met at the same place, if you grew up in the same household, doesn't matter. Like, it's going to look different, and that is okay because you have to make your marriage work for you.
Well, did it work for those people?
No, it never does. I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but it might work for us.
Yes.
What works between you and your husband or your wife, you have to make it work for you and no one else.
God bless America and no place else.
Jumping on that, wanted to linger just slightly on what she was saying about the change that happens in marriage, just in life in general. We're all going to change a lot. And the way that you try to measure whether that's good or bad, number one is tying back to one of the first things we said. If the changes that you're making are continuing to push you in your purpose, then it is a good change and not a bad one.
Right.
For instance, I would not have thought when I was in college that I would get in marriage and I would no longer be drawing. I was drawing when I was a kid, when I was in school, so much so that the teachers used to complain somewhat about how much I would be drawing in class while they were teaching me math. But they were sort of like, I want to complain because you shouldn't be doing that. And other people are seeing him doing it. It's not a great influence, but he is getting the work right. So you shouldn't do it, but I don't want to be like bad because, so they were having this thing. Then I went to an arts high school and then I went and I got my art degree in college. Anyway, I'm one of those people that just didn't make the smartest move when they got to college. I just didn't. So I spent literally more than a decade pursuing this thing in art where my base was drawing. And I don't draw nothing no more. But that was all a setup for something else because I also had a very heavy influence of music in my life because of my family, because of the church I grew up in, a certain love for that. And while it's playing a part in what I'm doing right now, it is not the central focus. That has been a change that has happened while I'm married. I'm very different now, but I'm still on the path of purpose. I'm still doing and learning the things that I needed to learn to be able to benefit the people around me and benefit people in general in a greater capacity than I would have as an artist and a lot of that is because of my personality type back then compared to now. I'm a very different person than I was back then. And that's another major change. A lot of people who knew me back then, who really knew me, would be like, Jermaine, the way you are now is different. Like all of this happiness and joy, making jokes on camera and stuff. You over here, you wilding out and talk about how crazy people is in relationships. I wouldn't have never did that. I was like, yo, you do what you want to do with your relationship, bruh. You know what I mean? If what you're doing is terrible, you're going to get the consequences. If what you're doing is great, you're going to get the consequences. Enjoy. Like, I wouldn't have said nothing back then. That was a part of my artistic experience in the way that I was an artist, and that's how that affected me. But now I'm of a greater use to society because of the experience that I've had with my wife, where I'm a completely different person from then. And it's not just her. There were other people that poured into it, and I'm going to give them their credit for sure. But the reality is, she was one of the first people to elicit that spark of change that made me who I am today. And it's very different than what I was. The reason that it's all okay with me is because, number one, she's making me better, right? But number two, she is depositing into me things and changes that are helping me to become the man that I'm supposed to be because I'm becoming more in line with my purpose than I ever have been in my life. So before you do any of the things we've said in this video, you better go. You better talk to nobody but God.
Okay.
About what it is he wants you to do with your life.
For real.
And if you're one of those people who watch our channel because you feel that we have good information, or maybe we're just entertaining.
You serious?
And you don't necessarily believe in God, find out what your purpose is regardless.
Yep.
Find out what your gift is and how you can utilize it to put you on a path to doing something that actually feeds into people and feeds into our society.
Yes.
And how you can be of service to them.
Yes.
And that will lead you to a place where you'll start to understand how your relationship has to take a role in you doing that.
Yep.
I think that right there is going to be my last comment on this. But I think it's something that had to be said.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we're going to stop here.
Mm-hmm.
But like we said, this is going to be in several parts.
Yes.
So we got you. If you want to see the rest of our commentary or the rest of our thoughts or advice basically on these questions here, then stay tuned for part 2.
Indeed.
Okay, but that's gonna wrap it up for today. Hopefully you all enjoyed. And if you enjoyed this video, perhaps you might like, besides the part 2, you might like one of these other videos as well. Definitely check them out. All right, but until next time, deuces.